Hi, how are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
We're very well.
Yes, very well, thank you.
Awesome. I'm getting the video set up here.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
There we
Let's
go.
see. And here we are.
Awesome.
Hello.
This is great. I sincerely appreciate both your time today. I know that this is going to be a fairly long day of interviews for you, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, no
Definitely,
worries.
no worries. Our pleasure.
Yes.
So I almost expected to see you in your persona makeup.
You
So,
did? Yeah.
either way, it's great to see you as yourself as well.
Yeah.
So, would you mind if we started kind of going from the beginning, just kind of getting a better idea of who you are, where you came from, literally from kids, and how the music had taken hold of you and got you to where you are today?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I grew up in Linköping, Sweden, and definitely in a really musical family. My dad is a musician as well. He's a music teacher. My mom is a musician. My brother is a musician, and hence I are a musician. So, a really prog family. I listened a lot to the House Gods was Genesis, and a lot of prog rock like Gentle Giant, King Crimson, Jethro Tull, old school prog, and as well as into the 80s like It Bites and things like that were really progressive rock bands, which I love. So that's where I come from, and I started to play the piano around 6, 7 years old, and also went through music education the whole school time as well. So
Yeah, you're probably the most formally trained one of us.
yeah, maybe. And started to listen to metal a bit, like in 7th, 8th grade maybe. I started to notice all these like cool bands like Meshuggah and Dillinger Escape Plan and Converge, and got so just amazed by the energy, like all the energetic kind of music, coming from prog, which is energetic in another type of way, with all the harmonizing, all the long tracks where you can have the jazzy, quirky parts for 10 minutes in the middle of the song, coming to this, which was a whole new world for me, exploring these kind of music like metal, and I thought was so cool, and definitely really, really technical music. Metal is sometimes the hardest kind of music you can play, quite technical. So amazed by that, and always been singing in different constellations and different bands, but never really felt like I got my fully potential with what I've been doing so far in other bands and in my own songwriting. I never really felt that I came to the point where I was fully satisfied with what I wanted to do as a musician. So me and Axel, we've known each other for 10 years, and
Ish.
always talked about playing together. We have a lot of the same musical influences, a lot of the same interests for that kind of music, but never came to the point where we sat down and did it. We always talked about, let's write together, because we had so much in common with what we liked and wanted to write and wanted to explore, until we actually sat down. That's where I guess it clicked
Yeah.
for me, coming to terms with what I wanted to do as a musician.
Exactly. And I guess my musical background is slightly different in a way, because I also come from a family who has always listened a lot to music, but not maybe played a lot of music in terms of instruments. Whereas I started to play drums when I was maybe 13, I guess.
Yeah.
And I started playing locally with some friends, just rehearsing in a youth center and like playing Metallica covers, because when I was, I guess, 6 years old, my dad brought home And Justice for All, and it just completely shook my musical world, which was very tiny at that point. So I just, when I first heard the opening riff of Blackened, I was
Yeah.
just completely hooked at what is this amazing sound that's coming out of the speaker and just grabbing me and forcing me to move around. So I started doing living room concerts with my brother, playing with chopsticks on pillows, and my brother had a tennis racket and
Yeah.
I ran around like, "Woo." That was that was probably the breaking point for me, where I started looking into, but started appreciating heavier music.
Yeah.
And was very influenced by that type of metal. And eventually, when I formed my first band with my brother, we discovered Mastodon when I was maybe 16, and Braun from Mastodon really influenced my way of approaching drums, which is just hit everything at the same time all the time. Which is, I mean, it's a very good way of learning how to be sort of fast and
is
so,
it
but
really?
it's, yeah, I mean, it, in a way it is, because you learn how to do a lot of stuff at
Yeah.
once, but in the end, we just you start developing your own style, and I started listening to Meshuggah as well, and Dillinger Escape Plan, which is an amazing
Yeah, wow.
an amazing band, and listened to a fair bit of like jazz, maybe not the Miles Davis type, but more the loungy type jazz, I guess.
Okay.
Which has also influenced at least my sense of melody, I think. In a way, because I appreciate them. And like Fia said, we've known each other for about 10 years, and we started talking music like basically instantly when we met each other, because that was our common ground. And then we
were the only ones at a party who liked Cannibal Corpse, and I think that's where it all started. We put it on the CD, and everybody just ran out. We were the only two left.
Yeah, that was a very.
That's where it all began.
That's the sign you were looking for.
Yes. Yeah, and we've always done that, and then we've always talked about doing something together. And when we eventually just got our act together and said, okay, we need to sit down and make something, we did so over the course of a week in a cottage out in the woods, and we just sat down and said, without any sort of preconceived notion of what we should write, we just said, let's just make something happen. And I remember you having some sort of melody on the piano, and we just instantly latched onto it and wrote a song out of it.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe 2 or 3 hours later, we had one of the songs for the album, which was
Deus Ex Homine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that,
and it just felt so natural. It came so easy, and I think because we've known each other for quite a long time and always talked so much about it, there were no, feeling of that you had to hold back, or that you had to feel embarrassed or anything like that. You could just bring out the ideas, and we took them on with open arms and just tried to do things of it. And it just felt really natural to us to do it, which was a great relief as well, because, if you've been talking about doing something together for 10 years and then you sit down and notice, like, wow, we can't do this together, that would have been a disappointment. So
and why didn't we do it sooner, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah, but it just felt like so natural. And
everything. I started writing our first album, which we didn't know at that point, but eventually down the line, everything just became more clear that we need to make this into a band, and we need to make an album, and we need to try to, make something out of it. And we found members both through our previous bands and some new guys who are just equally interested in this type of quirky metal, I guess. And everything just fit together really nicely.
Yeah, great people, great musicians who, as you said, had the same interest and were ready to give this their full attention as well. And when we spend time together, when we were rehearsing or writing music together, everything just feels, and it sounds a bit cheesy, but it feels really natural.
Yeah.
It feels like we've known each other for our whole lives, and this is what we aim to do.
Well, that's what's most important. I mean, that you feel that comfortable with each other. I mean, especially you're going to be on the road at some point, and you're definitely going to have to really get along with everyone very well. And if you're not feeling comfortable, then that's going to make it a little more difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we came together.
Yeah.
and formed the Great Discord. I mean, we had some thoughts about the band and the whole visual presentation behind it, and the other guys really liked it, and we formed the whole concept behind this album together, which is also an aim for us. We although it started with us two writing the first couple of songs and started up it all, we wanted it to be an effort that comes from all of us as a band, as the Great Discord.
Mm.
Was the visual aspect, did it precede the name of the band, or did it, you know, kind of follow the name of the band?
I think it sort of materialized when we listened back to the first songs we wrote out in the cottage. Because when we listened to it, it sort of cried out in a way that this needs to be presented in a specific manner, and how can we make this music more interesting for us and hopefully for people when. Or how are we going to present it to the world, basically, and what makes sense for us to create in terms of the visual aspect.
Yeah.
So we sort of quite quickly actually started to think about how you would look, because we thought that because of the music's technicality and what do you call it,
twists
when
and
it's
turns
spastic, it sort of requires a focal point. It requires something that you keep your attention to, and that became you in an onstage persona where maybe you know how she looks. She has she becomes something that's you're not supposed to be a person.
More of an entity, like. Yeah. You're not supposed to know if it's good or if it's bad or if it's hateful or harmful or if it's joyful or sensual or whatever you can connect it with. It's with
the videos that you've already shared out, you kind of have the one with the blood being spattered on you, and it does present sort of the darker kind of image, but then Woes has a very serene, very beautiful tone to it that I think really captures both sides of you very well. Just those two video clips alone.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I guess that's the point of it as well. Like when we look back at it, we can tell that it became 10 short stories of these 10 songs, where we try to put in all from the extremes to just plain emotions that people go through daily, as sorrow or sadness or power and joyful feelings, to as we said, the real extremes, like we have the cannibal and we have the necrophile, and that's maybe not conditions that every person go around bearing, but they're part of life, and people do actually live with these kind of conditions. So for me, the stage persona is supposed to represent all these kind of emotions, the discordance in people's lives.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Very much so. And now, I mean, I am very intrigued and very interested to see how you're going to present this in a live format. Am I correct in assuming you haven't played too many live shows as of yet?
No, we've only played live once, actually.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And it was the one show here in our hometown.
Okay.
Yeah, at a local festival, basically.
Yeah, and
which
it was a great show. It was so much fun, and it really, intrigued us all that we are so excited to come out on the road and play more, because we really wanted to show ourselves to the world now.
Yeah.
Been working with this record for almost 2 years.
Yeah, and we've been like planning the whole live thing for a while, and incorporated a lot of technical aspects, like intros, outros, backtracks, all that stuff, because we have a lot of stuff going on in the music that we don't want to be lost in a live situation. And because we're only 5 people, we can't really make all the noises physically. So we needed to have that aspect as well, and to make it as seamless as possible, not having the real start and stop, but more of a whole that's connected through these small interactions between the songs. And then of course the lighting comes in, which is also a very integral part of how we're going to present it, as for example, when we listen to music, we usually see music in different colors, where one song is blue, one is red, one is green, and we try to keep the song's color theme when we light it up in that specific theme. That we feel that this song is green, okay, so it's going to go in green, and some iterations of green for the most part, and then try to keep it as cohesive as possible in terms of colors as well. So and then of course, since we're just starting up, we can't really bring a lot of props. So it's going to be more a focus on Fia's persona and the way she acts on stage, and the lighting aspect of everything. We're going to try to put as much effort as possible into that to make it cohesive and make it, like someone has actually given it a little bit of thought.
Yeah, and really trying to bring that extra energy to the shows. Like for me, when I watch shows, as we said earlier, named bands like Dillinger Escape Plan, which is a band that you just get amazed by watching live with all their energy. It gives you energy to watch them, and also that's what we're trying to do when we perform live, to give 150% of us, every one of us. And I think that for me it comes really easy with being this persona, because I get so into the different characters that I'm supposed to express. The vocals and the whole embodiness of it, it gets quite easy for me to really get into the character and just give my everything.
Yeah.
So I was super excited for the shows.
You definitely hear that with actors who wear the prosthetics and whatnot, and I'm sure it's very much the same thing. I mean, you can definitely get much more involved and much more interested in what you're doing, how you're doing it, and not think about the logistics of it, just doing it and being in the moment more so.
Yeah.
Or step outside yourself for a moment and just
and
be
I guess
something else.
That's what happened, because sometimes when I can look at myself in doing shows, other shows as well, if you look at a recording of it, sometimes I really cannot remember that I did those things on stage. It's like, where was I? Because apparently I was just somewhere else making up movements and things like that. And I guess when you're in that stage, when you're in that state on stage, you've hit the spot, I think.
Now, when was the last recording done on the album? Like, how long ago was the actual recording part of the process done, completed?
I think we did the last take
in December?
The last vocal takes was in December, and we did some minor keyboard stuff in January. But the mix and the master happened in late January, early February.
Okay, so fairly recently. I was going to say, since you've been working on it since 2013, I wasn't sure how long ago it was recorded. Since music usually evolves when you continually play it over and over, I wasn't sure if there was much of a change from the recording to what it could be now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we started, when we started writing, we weren't even a band, so the difficulty of actually feeling the songs when you're actually playing them was sort of hindered. And but then when we started playing together as a band, we were, I guess, maybe 70% finished with the material. So the last 30% was written while we were actively rehearsing as well. So there were definitely some changes, both to the new stuff we wrote together and the old stuff that we had written, like tempo changes and okay, this song feels a bit off or weird in this spot, so we need to change that in this. But since we haven't been actively working on it like every day for this amount of time. It's more been pockets of very intense work on it, like here and there, because we have other commitments. But when we've actually worked on it, it's been very efficient, very like goal-minded, and very very rewarding because it worked so well with us just working together on it.
Yeah, and I think we both felt quite instantly when we started writing that, okay, this is something that we really want to give 100% attention to. And it took us a while then to get out of the other commitments that we had left before we actually could just, even though we knew that this is what we want to do, it took almost maybe a year and a half until we are at the point where we are now, like to give it our all and really go for it. So that's also a relief.
Yeah, very much.
You both had your hand in producing the album, and Axel, you engineered it. Either of you have either of you had experience in engineering or producing in that manner?
Well, me, none. But I learned a lot.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, exactly.
But you have.
Yeah, I mean, I've done some albums before where I've mostly been a musician, but I've learned along the way. Whereas the big thing was something I was in for the most part. I mean, I have some amazing friends around me who are very, very proficient at everything regarding making an album, basically. So I always had a backup somewhere that could help me out when I hit a rough spot, basically. But yeah, I mean, the engineering part was something that I was very eager to try because it's very stimulating when you're actually getting it right. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a very trial and error type process, especially when you're doing it for real the first time, almost by yourself. But it was extremely rewarding because I enjoy working with this stuff so much. Yeah. It's in that sense, and because we knew so well what we wanted. Like, okay, we want the snare and the kick drum to sound like this and that, and we want the guitars to have this type of sound, and we want this guitar to sound like Pink Floyd or whatever. So we always had a point of reference that we could go back to and you know, try to double check everything if it sounds similar or way off, or maybe it was even cooler this way. Or
exactly.
So it was fortunately for us, we had, in that sense, an unlimited amount of time to actually make the album, so we had time to make mistakes.
And it was important for us as well to letting it take that amount of time, because we really wanted to make it the record that we always wanted to produce, you know. And I think we complemented each other quite well as well, because of the great amount of singing that's on this, or vocals that's on this record, a lot of harmonizing, and me having experience of a lot of recording or studio jobs, working as a singer in studios. I had also quite a great idea of how I wanted the singing to sound, and how it was a good learning phase for me and Niels Nielsen, who helped us with the mix and master of the album, because he had never been mixing these types of vocals before with this much. At some point of the album, it's a choir singing, and it's me singing or dubbing myself 8 times with different harmonizers or things like that. So we really wanted that part as well to sound good, and it could be quite tough, quite hard to get it right. So you can check anything about the technology, you know, where should you press to make it sound, you know, but I can explain.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we have this good way of communicating what we want, and that really helped.
Definitely.
And also the fact that the people on the album are proficient musicians really helped out a lot and cut down a lot of like the retake time, where we got a lot of takes really quickly, which was good. So we wouldn't have to like choose between 5,000 takes to find the best one. We could just look through maybe 5 or 10 takes and find the best one.
Yeah, exactly.
That was...
So even though it was a long process, it was necessary, and it never felt like you came to a point where it got boring or you got tired of it. It was always a living, breathing thing through the whole process. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I mean, it was truly an amazing album. I mean, you really did an amazing job with it. I mean, it's a very deep album. I mean, it's not what you would normally expect, you know, from I don't know if even labeling it as metal is totally appropriate. I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, because there's so much more than just a metal album.
Yeah.
But
well, thank you so much. What a compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome. But I mean, there's psychological aspects to it. It's just a very deep, emotional whirlwind of activity going on, and you really have to peel back the layers and think about it. So it's I just was able to look at the lyrics last night. So finally able to really delve deeper into the lyrics with the music, and I'm just really thankful that you put out the album. It's a great effort, especially for being self-produced.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. How did Metal Blade get into the picture? That was one thing I didn't see on any of the information.
Oh yeah. We had a few demos that we wrote, and we just felt like we came to a point that we really wanted to try if anybody would be interested in our demos. So we sent a few of them out to some different record labels, and Metal Blade and hence then Kelly listened to it
seemed to catch interest basically, and that sparked a conversation that spanned a few months, I think, where we explained what we wanted to do, how we wanted to present it, what our potential, what we think our potential is, and try to sell ourselves as best as we can. Of course, that's what you do. And it really seemed to strike a chord with Kelly, at least, and she managed to fight us into being signed by their label, which was an awesome thing. I mean, it was unbelievable when we got the mail back that they wanted to sign us. It was great, and also a challenge, I think, because Metal Blade has a fair crowd of fans and people who we have noticed not are particularly a fan of our kind of music, or at least not used to it, because they have the Goatwhore and Cannibal Corpse and the real true metal fans, and it's been a challenge so far as well to present ourselves in that forum. I mean, we seem to have a polarizing effect on the Metal Blade fans, because some of them obviously hate us because they only like Cannibal Corpse and Goatwhore. But some of them,
can understand that.
But at the same time, Metal Blade have started to sign these progressive acts, like Between the Buried and Me and Native Construct and that stuff. So there is definitely a crowd there that really loves this stuff, and we've noticed that too. So it's been a very interesting process of presenting music, because some people really love it and some people really hate it, and they start fighting over which one is the music professor of the two or something.
Exactly. And I think that's a great thing as well, because what we're trying to do with our music is to get some kind of affection or some kind of emotion out of the people who listens to it, and either if it's hate or if it's that you really like it in a positive way, it's an emotion. So apparently it stirs something up, and it makes people turn their heads, which is, I mean, for me, that's a great compliment as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a receipt for that we're doing something right.
Or maybe it's a defense mechanism, I don't know.
Of course.
I'm not sure how much time we have left. I know you were pretty much segmented. Real quickly, do you want to talk about what's coming in the next few months? I mean, obviously June 2nd, we've got the album release. Very much looking forward to seeing the big splash around the world from the release date.
We're really much looking forward to that, of course, releasing the album and just get it out there and see how people
take it.
Take it.
Well, the plan is obviously to tour on this, and hopefully we have some fish lines lying around, and the most immediate thing would probably be we are in talks with a band called Dead Soul, which is another band in our neighborhood, basically, that's released an album, and they're going to release another album soon. So we're thinking about maybe doing something together with them, and we've talked to some promoters, and they seem to be very down with the idea. So hopefully late summer, early fall, we're going to be on the road with them in the UK and hopefully some parts of Europe.
Yeah.
And then we have some other prospects that are sort of not as far along in the talks yet, but the plan is, of course, to
tour around the world
and eventually come to the States as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You definitely got to get in on some of the festivals too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We were unfortunately a little late to this summer because it's difficult for promoters to book a band when they haven't released anything, and since most of the festivals are booked
like 2-3 years ahead.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. It's difficult to get on those when you release an album in June, but unless you have anything before that.
Yeah, exactly. This is the first thing that we're releasing, so the big thing right now is just to see how people take it, and hopefully that it comes out well and people enjoy it and give us the opportunity to come out and show ourselves to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure if we're out of time here.
I think
our time
we
is
are,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Thank you both so much for your time. I mean, it's been incredible to get to know you beyond the music, and I really appreciate everything. I mean,
thank you, man.
so much.
Thank you very
Lovely
much.
to talk to you. Hopefully we'll talk again.
definitely look forward to it.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you. Have a
Bye-bye.
good night. Bye.